വീഡിയോയിലേക്ക് സ്വാഗതം. അപ്പോൾ ഇന്നത്തെ സെഷനിൽ നമ്മൾ സംസാരിക്കാൻ പോകുന്നത് അസോസിയേഷൻസ് ഓഫ് സൗത്ത് ഈസ്റ്റ് ഏഷ്യൻ നേഷൻ, അതായത് ആസിയാൻ, എല്ലാവർക്കും അറിയുന്ന കാര്യമാണ്. ആസിയാൻ കൺട്രീസിൻ്റെ സെൻട്രാലിറ്റി കുറിച്ചാണ് ഇത് ന്യൂസ്. ASEAN Centrality is under the growing strain from great power rivalry, trade tensions and shifting order, requiring bold reforms and deeper partnership in Indo-Pacific region. അപ്പോൾ ഇന്തോ-പസഫിക് റീജിയനിലെ ഈ ഇത്രയും കൺട്രീസ്, അതായത് ആസിയൻ കൺട്രീസ്, അതായത് വിയറ്റ്നാം, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ലാവോസ്, മ്യാൻമർ, തായ്ലാൻഡ്, സിംഗപ്പൂർ, ഇന്തോനേഷ്യ, മലേഷ്യ, കംബോഡിയ, ബ്രൂണൈ, ദാറുസലാം, ഫിലിപ്പീൻസ് ആൻഡ് ഇത്രയും കൺട്രീസാണ് ആസിയാൻ കൺട്രീസ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ ഈ കൺട്രീസിൽ സെൻട്രാലിറ്റി സെൻറ്റർ ഗ്രോയിങ് സ്ട്രെയിൻ ഫ്രം ഗ്രേറ്റ് പവർ റൈവൽറി, ഓക്കെ, ട്രേഡ് ടെൻഷൻസ്, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ആൻഡ് ഷിഫ്റ്റിംഗ് ഓർഡർ റിക്വയറിങ് ബോൾഡ് ഫോംസ് ആൻഡ് ഡീപ്പ് പാർട്ണർഷിപ്പ് ഇൻ ഇന്തോ-പസഫിക് റീജിയനിൽ, അതായത് ഒരുപാട് ലൈക്ക് ബിക്കോസ് ഓഫ് ദി ECS അവിടെ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നൊരു കനാലിൻ്റെ പേരൊക്കെ അറിയില്ല, അത് ബ്ലോക്കേഡ് ചെയ്ത സമയത്ത് വലിയ രീതിയിലുള്ള പവർ സ്ട്രഗിൾസും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ട്രേഡ് റിലേറ്റഡ് ആയ കാര്യങ്ങളും ഒരുപാട് ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടുകൾ നേരിടുന്നത് റീസെൻ്റായിട്ട് ഞാൻ വായിച്ചായിരുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ ആ ഒരു ഏരിയയിലേക്ക് കൂടുതൽ ഫോക്കസ് കൊടുക്കേണ്ടതുണ്ട് എന്നുള്ളതാണ് ഇന്ത്യൻ പെർസ്പെക്റ്റീവിൽ നോക്കുമ്പോൾ. ഇന്ത്യൻ ഫോറിൻ പോളിസിയിൽ അതായത് ആക്ട് ഈസ്റ്റ് പോളിസി എന്ന് പറയുന്നൊരു പോളിസി ഉണ്ട്, അതായത് ടുവാർഡ്സ് സൗത്ത് ഈസ്റ്റ്. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് ഇന്ത്യ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് സൗത്ത് ഏഷ്യൻ റീജിയനിലെ ഒരു വെസ്റ്റേൺ പവറാണ്, പക്ഷേ സൗത്ത് ഈസ്റ്റേൺ റീജിയനിലേക്കും കൂടി നമ്മുടെ ഇന്ത്യയുടെ ഹാൻഡ്സ് എക്സ്റ്റെൻഡ് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ ആ ഒരു ആക്ട് ഈസ്റ്റ് പോളിസിയുടെ ഭാഗമായിട്ടാണ് ആസിയൻ കൺട്രീസിൽ വലിയ രീതിയിൽ ഇൻഫ്ലുവൻസ് ഇന്ത്യക്കുണ്ട്. ഓക്കെ, സോ എന്തുകൊണ്ടാണ് എന്താണ് ഇതിൻ്റെ ഈ ഒരു ഫോക്കസ് കൊടുക്കാനുള്ള പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട കാരണങ്ങൾ എന്തൊക്കെയാണെന്നാണ് ഇനി പറയാൻ പോകുന്നത്. ഓക്കെ, ഫസ്റ്റ് ജെനസിസ്, എൻ്റെ ഉത്ഭവം നോക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ എസ്റ്റാബ്ലിഷ് ഇൻ 1967 ഇൻ ബാങ്കോക്ക്, അപ്പോൾ തായ്ലാൻഡ്, വിത്ത് സൈനിങ് ഓഫ് ദി ആസിയാൻ ഡിക്ലറേഷൻ ഓർ ബാങ്കോക്ക് ഡിക്ലറേഷൻ 1967 ആസിയാൻ ഫോം ചെയ്യപ്പെടുന്നത്. എയിംസ് ആക്സിലറേറ്റ് റീജിയണൽ എക്കോണമിക് ആൻഡ് കൾച്ചറൽ പ്രോഗ്രസ്, ഓക്കെ, പ്രൊമോട്ട് പീസ്, സ്റ്റെബിലിറ്റി ആൻഡ് ദ റൂൾ ഓഫ് ലോ, ഓക്കെ, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഫോസ്റ്റർ കൊളാബറേഷൻ അക്രോസ് എഡ്യൂക്കേഷൻ, ട്രേഡ്, അഗ്രികൾച്ചർ ആൻഡ് ഇൻഡസ്ട്രി. സെക്രട്ടേറിയറ്റ് വരുന്നത് ജക്കാർത്തയിലാണ്, ഇന്തോനേഷ്യയിലാണ്. ഓക്കെ, മെമ്പർ കൺട്രീസ് വരുന്നത് 10 രാജ്യങ്ങളാണ്. ഇന്തോനേഷ്യ, മലേഷ്യ, ഫിലിപ്പീൻസ്, സിംഗപ്പൂർ ആൻഡ് തായ്ലാൻഡ് ആർ ഫൗണ്ടിംഗ് മെമ്പേഴ്സ്. ആസിയാൻ സമിതിയെ കുറിച്ച് പറയുന്നത് ഹയസ്റ്റ് പോളിസി മേക്കിംഗ് ബോഡി ഇൻ ആസിയാൻ കംപ്രൈസിംഗ് ദി ഹെഡ്സ് ഓഫ് സ്റ്റേറ്റ് ഓഫ് ഗവൺമെൻറ്റ്സ് ഓഫ് ആസിയാൻ മെമ്പർ സ്റ്റേറ്റ്സ്. ഓക്കെ, ആർട്ടിക്കിൾ 1.15 of the ASEAN Charter emphasizes that the grouping's primary goal is to uphold the centrality and active role of ASEAN as the main driving force behind its retaliation and cooperation with external powers. അതായത് അതിൻ്റെ ഒബ്ജക്റ്റീവാണ് പറയുന്നത്. ഒന്നാമത് മെമ്പേഴ്സിനെ കുറിച്ച് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഇന്തോനേഷ്യ, മലേഷ്യ, ഫിലിപ്പീൻസ്, സിംഗപ്പൂർ ആൻഡ് തായ്ലാൻഡ് ആർ ഫൗണ്ട് മെമ്പേഴ്സ്. തുടക്ക സമയത്ത് ഇത്രയും കൺട്രീസ് മാത്രമേ, പിന്നീട് മറ്റുള്ള മ്യാൻമർ, തായ്ലാൻഡ്, അതുപോലെ സിംഗപ്പൂർ, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ വിയറ്റ്നാം, ലാവോസ്, ബ്രൂണൈ, ദാറുസലാം, ഫിലിപ്പൈൻസ് ഒക്കെ ആഡായി. ഇനി ആർട്ടിക്കിൾ 1.15 ഓഫ് ദി ആസിയാൻ ചാർട്ടിൽ പറയുന്ന emphasizes that the grouping's primary goal is to uphold the centrality and active role of ASEAN as the main driving force behind the relations and cooperation with the external partners. അതായത് ഇതൊരു ഗ്രൂപ്പിംഗ് ആണ്, എക്സ്റ്റേണൽ പാർട്ട്നേഴ്സുമായിട്ട് ഇങ്ങനെ ഇൻട്രാക്ട് ചെയ്യണം, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ബൈലാറ്ററൽ റിലേഷൻസ് ഇങ്ങനെ ഡെവലപ്പ് ചെയ്യണം. അതുപോലെ നമ്മുടെ ഇടയിൽ തന്നെയുള്ള രാജ്യങ്ങളിലെ ഡെവലപ്മെൻറ്റിന് വേണ്ടിയുള്ളൊരു ഫോഴ്സാണിത്. ഓക്കെ, റെലവൻസ് ഓഫ് ASEAN centrality in the region, security and stability, okay, through forums like the ASEAN Regional Forum and ASEAN Defense Ministers Meeting plus ADMM plus ASEAN provides space for defense, maritime and security dialogue involving both member and external powers. Economic integration കുറിച്ച് പറഞ്ഞാൽ RCP, okay, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership was ASEAN-led, strengthening regional trade links across Asia Pacific. Okay, non-billing example Treaty of Amity and Cooperation TAC, originally meant for Southeast Asian states, has evolved into key regional framework with major powers like China, United States and Russia also becoming signatories. അതായത് ഒരുപാട് ട്രീറ്റി ഓഫ് അമിറ്റി ആൻഡ് കോപ്പറേഷൻ ഈ രാജ്യങ്ങളുമായിട്ട് നടത്തിയ ട്രീറ്റീസ്, അതായത് മെയിനായിട്ടുള്ളത് US, ചൈന, റഷ്യ ഒക്കെ വലിയ രീതിയിൽ ആ ഒരു റീജിയനിലേക്ക് ഫോക്കസ് കൊടുക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മുടെ രാജ്യം, നമ്മുടെ പെർസ്പെക്റ്റീവ് എങ്ങനെ ഉണ്ടായിരിക്കണം എന്നാണ് നോക്കാൻ പോകുന്നത്. ഓക്കെ, threats to ASEAN Centrality. Okay, great progress of US-China competition risk marginalizing in ASEAN. Okay, fragmenting regional unity. Example BRICS versus Indo-Pacific strategy. Okay, US tariffs. The tariffs are destabilization in the international trade systems crucial for ASEAN economies. Overlapping regional architectures. No unilateral arrangements such as Quad and AUKUS of Australia, UK and US, United States channels ASEAN security mechanisms like the East Asia Summits, ADM plus etc. Internal relations. Example Vietnam put strong pressure on ASEAN members to confront China, whereas Cambodia along with Laos have also become increasingly dependent on Chinese infrastructure laws. Okay, that's the next one, credibility risk crisis. Example on the Myanmar crisis, ASEAN has struggled to enforce the 5-point consensus, allowing external powers to step into the Indo-Pacific region. Okay, weak institutional capacity and ASEAN secretaries, limited resources and curtail ambitious initiatives. Okay, way forward was strengthening ASEAN Centrality, upgrade ASEAN's community which in 2045 and the ASEAN political security community strategic plan, ASEAN economic community AC strategic plan 2026-30 marks step in the right directions. Cooperate with the like-minded partners. Example, European Union 6 free trade agreements FTAs with the ASEAN and the most of its members is expanding its presence in the Indo-Pacific. Formal constitutions mechanism, consultation mechanism with the groupings like the Quad, proposing joint initiatives on shared concerns and exploring ways to connect unilateral arrangements with ASEAN-led processes. With a closer partnership with India, India shares ASEAN's interest in enhancing regional trade, increasing economic diversification, and promoting regional stability. How can India deal with shift of ASEAN Centrality, synchronize efforts, advancing cooperation between Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative (IPOI) with the ASEAN's AOIB, ASEAN Outlook on Indo-Pacific and on shared Indo-Pacific concerns, especially maritime security, disaster response, and blue economy opportunities. Can explore potential synergies with sub-regional frameworks such as the Indian Ocean Rim Association (IORF), BIMSTEC, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Growth Triangle, IMT, etc. Expedite a review of ASEAN-India trade in goods agreement (ITIGA) to make it more effective, user-friendly, and simple, and trade facilitating for business. Okay, implementation of the ASEAN-India Tourism Cooperation Roadmap 2020-2027 to explore deeper cooperation to support joint program for tourism, education, training, and research to build capacity. Conclusion: ASEAN has emerged as the premier organization in Southeast Asia. The key approach going forward is to reassert its centrality in Southeast Asian development and progress in tandem with the commitment to prospective member states to avoid being spoiled by the strategic ambitions of external powers. Okay, news in short: India-Philippines strategic partnership with the Philippines and India formally elevated their bilateral ties through a declaration on establishing a strategic partnership guided by the Plan of Action 2025-2029. Okay, more the strategic partnership marks 25 years of diplomatic ties established in 1949, further strengthened by India's Act East Dialogue and Act East 2014 policies. Okay, അതായത് the Philippines and India formally elevated their bilateral ties through a declaration of establishing a strategic partnership guided by the Plan of Action 2025-2029. India Philippines strategic partnership elevate ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരുപാട് ഒബ്ജക്റ്റീവ്സ് റെസൊല്യൂഷൻസ് പാസ് ചെയ്യപ്പെട്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ കാര്യങ്ങൾ നീക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. ഓക്കെ, മോർ ഓൺ ദ ന്യൂസ്. The strategic partnership marks 75 years of diplomatic ties. The strategic partnership marks 75 years of diplomatic ties established in 1948 ആണ് ഇന്ത്യ ഫിലിപ്പീൻസ് ആയിട്ട് ഫസ്റ്റ് ഒരു റിലേഷൻ വരുന്നത് ബൈലാറ്ററൽ. ഓക്കെ, ഫർദർ സ്ട്രെങ്തൻഡ് ബൈ ഇന്ത്യസ് ലോക്ക് ഈസ്റ്റ്. ഓക്കെ, 1992 and Act East 2014 policies. India Philippines relations over bilateral trade exceeded $3.05 billion in financial year 2024-25. People-to-people ties for around 1.2 lakhs Indian lives in the Philippines. Multilateral forums, regional security cooperation initiatives, cybersecurity and counter-terrorism collaborations against transnational security and threats, and a joint focus on maritime domain awareness, science, technology, integration, concert cooperation program, promoting advanced technologies, blue economy, focus on sustainable ocean-based industries, example shrimp. Convergence of India-Philippines relations, defense partnership, growing trust and defense cooperation, exemplified by India's arms exports like 375 million BrahMos missile deal with the Philippines. Okay, first followed by a China factor, increasing Chinese assertiveness in the Southeast China Sea threatens Philippines sovereignty, and also China factor increasing Chinese China's asset in the South China Sea threatens Philippines sovereignty, and also India's maritime trade routes, bringing both towards closer cooperation. Maritime security: India backs the Philippines stance on the 2016 arbitrating ruling and enforcing rules-based order under the UN clause. Okay, India calls a rules-based order and freedom of navigation in the SES region. Indo-Pacific vision: India Act East policy and Indo-Pacific outreach have Philippines as a key player. Conclusion: India-Philippines relations are becoming more strategically deep through collaboration in cyber economics, maritime defenses. The partnership promotes a rule-based Indo-Pacific and enhances India's Act East policy. By working together, both countries can guarantee shared prosperity, stability, and security in the region. Okay, UN India Global Capacity Building Initiative. Okay, India launched projects with the UN under the Global Capacity Building Initiatives for Asia, Africa, and Caribbean countries. Okay, about Global Capacity Building Initiative, Genesis, India and the United Nations jointly launched it in September 2020. The objective: share India's development experiences, best practices, and expertise with global South nations through capacity building and training programs for accelerating progress on sustainable development goals. SDG implemented through the United Nations India SDG country fund as well as the Indian Technical and Economic Cooperation Program (ADEC). Okay, Eurasian Economic Union. India and Eurasian Economic Union recently signed the terms of reference for trade deal. Signing the terms of reference marks the formal commencement of free trade agreement (FTA) negotiations with the goal of establishing a long-term framework for trade cooperation. Okay, potential benefits of FTA with the economic trade expansion: it will unlock untapped trade potential, increases investments, and establish a stronger, durable India-EU economic policy. Bilateral trade turnover stood at $69 billion in 2008, for 70% rise. Countries in the market access. It will open wider opportunities for Indian exporters amid increasing US tariffs and support a diversification into new sectors and geographies, enhance competitiveness. It will strengthen US position against non-market economies. It will significantly benefit Indian micro, small and medium enterprise. Service energy partnership: EU offers abundant natural resources and energy crucial for India's growth. Example: Russia now accounts for 35 to 40% of India's total all imports by oil. Okay, strategic benefits: strengthening ties with Russia and let the bloc will reinforce India policy of multi-alignment. Okay, about Eurasian Economic Union (AU), it is an international organization for regional economic integration. GEN is established by the Treaty of the European Economic Union for benefits provides for free movement of goods, services, capitals, and labor, etc. Intermediate range nuclear forces INF treaty. Russia officially had a commitment to a 1987 intermediate range nuclear forces INF treaty. Russia cited recent US military actions as a key reason, including the United States order for positioning two nuclear supplies closer to Russian shores and deployment of Typhoon missile system in the Philippines. I got an INF treaty signed between the United States and United Soviet Union in 1987. The treaty required destructions of all ground-launched ballistic and cruise missiles with ranges of 500 to 5,500 kilometers. It was the first major agreement to reduce nuclear resources, remove an entire class of weapons, and allow on site inspections for verification. The treaty had already weakened after the United States withdrew in 2019. Implications on nuclear arms control. Okay, breakdown of arms control frameworks and eroding trust and hindering efforts towards future unclear disarmament would likely impact on nuclear disarmament. Disarmament major cause accelerating nuclear modernizations while non-nuclear states are reconsidering their non-proliferation commitments, heightening global instability, return to Cold War politics, collapse of treaty has tokened fears of a repeat of Cold War era European missile crisis, increasing security risks, stakes as time to restart is raising the likelihood of a global nuclear conflict over a false launch warning. Okay, key nuclear arms control regimens. The Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons (ASEAN) entered into the force in 1970. Aims at preventing spread of nuclear weapons and weapons technology. Strategic Offensive Reductions Treaty (SORD) up to 2002 US Russia bilateral agreement limiting strategic nuclear warheads. New Strategic Arms Reductions Treaty a new start up to 2010 bilateral agreement between the United States and Russia significantly limiting strategic arms. Treaty on Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons (TPNW) adopted at the United Nations in 2017 and prohibits prohibition practice participating in any nuclear weapon activities. Armenia Azerbaijan peace agreement brokered by the United States. Okay, the deal aims to bring an end to decades of conflict between the United States and the two South Caucasus countries. Okay, key provisions of the deal: cessation of hostilities. Both nations agreed to end armed conflict, establish diplomatic relations. Trump route for international peace and prosperity. New transit route linking Azerbaijan to its Nakhchivan through Armenian territory. US as exclusive development projects. US cooperation deals. Both countries also signed separate agreements with the United States to enhance cooperation in energy, technology, and economy. Background of the conflict: the Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict is mainly over Nagorno-Karabakh, the mountainous region inside Azerbaijan, but predominantly populated by the ethnic Armenians. Okay, and then it is Nagorno-Karabakh broke away from the Azerbaijan and the Armenians. Both countries gained independence from the Soviet Union, but the dispute continued. 2008, Azerbaijan regained full control, causing nearly 1 lakh Armenians to flee to armies. India's interest: India supports the peace deal, calling it an important achievement for dialogue and diplomacy. The deal is important for India, as Armenia is the only country in the region with which it has a friendship and cooperation treaty signed in 1995. Azerbaijan falls on the international North-South transport corridor route connecting India with Russia through Central Asia. Okay, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Russia, Caspian Sea. Okay, Nagorno, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Turkey, Nakhchivan, Azerbaijan, Rizan. Okay, next we have India's interest. India supports the peace deal, calling it an important adventure for dialogue and diplomacy. The deal is important for India, as Armenia is the only country region which it has as a friendship and cooperation treaty signed in 1995. Okay, Azerbaijan falls on the international North-South transport corridor, like a route connecting India with Russia through Central Asia. Alaska Summit. The President of the United States of America and Russia made in Alaska regarding ceasefire in Russia-Ukraine war. Alaska is a non-contiguous United States Senate state on the northwest extremely in the North American continent. It was brought by the United States of America from Russia per Alaska Treaty 1986. Maritime waters before sea and Arctic Ocean North, the Gulf of Alaska and the Pacific Ocean South, being sea west to 60 sea northwest. The northern lights of Aurora Borealis are visible across much of Alaska. Nearly 1/3 of the state lies within the Arctic Circle, and about 80% of Alaska is underlying by predominant. Okay, Asia Pacific Institute for Broadcasting and Development (AIBD). Okay, India has been elected as the chairman of the executive board of AIBD at the 23rd General Conference in Thailand. Asia Pacific Institute for Broadcasting Development (Genesis), founded in 1977 under the auspices of UNESCO. AIBD is a unique regional intergovernmental organization secretariat in Kuala Lumpur, mandate to achieve a vibrant and cohesive electronic media environment in the Asia Pacific region. Members, it currently has 98 member organization from 45 countries. India is the founding member of IIBD and preserved by the India's Public Service Broadcaster represents the Minister of Information and Broadcasting in the organization. Okay, areas in conflict as Khan Yunis, Rafah, Jabalia, Deir al Bala. This UN officially declared famine in August 2025 with half a million people at the risk of starvation due to Israel's prolonged blockade and restricted air entry post Hamas attack on Israel. Restricted aid entry post Hamas attack on Israel. Key geographical areas, which is a small coastal strip along with eastern Mediterranean Sea. It borders Israel on the north and east and Egypt on the southwest. With nearly 2.2 million people, it is among the most crowded place in the world. Okay, Gaza Strip. Okay, Gaza, Khan Yunis, Rafah, Deir al Bala, Jabalia area. Area built up area, refugee camps, crossing points. Sudan, therefore Khartoum, South Kordofan, Blue United States, Sudan plunged into a civil war in after 2011 after vicious power struggle broke out between its army and a powerful paramilitary group. The Rapid Support Force RSF, located in Northeast Africa, bordered by Egypt to the north, the Red Sea to the northeast, the largest country in Africa. The Nile River system, White Nile and Blue Nile, runs through Sudan. Okay, next we have the Ukraine, Kiev, Donetsk, Kaposkia, okay, Cherkasy and Shenika and worsen humanitarian conditions in the Ukraine have its wave of Russian missile and strong Bureau bordered by the Russia, East and the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov. Okay, the Dnieper River flows through the Kiev into the Black Sea, Carpathian mountains in the west and the Crimean mountain in the south of Ukraine. Okay, Ukraine. Okay. Democratic Republic of Congo, North Kivu, Ituri province. Congo has been facing a long cycle of wars in the east, shaped by ethnic tensions, weak governance, and the struggle for the minerals located in Central Africa. The second largest on the continent, Congo River basin, second longest river in Africa. Congo rainforest, second largest tropical rainforest, mineral rich, cobalt, copper, and coal, etc. So let's talk about the economics of production and action. In its recent report, the Standing Committee of Finance suggests a way for India to navigating rising global trade uncertainties and growing production is more than its conflicts like the Russia-Ukraine war and the West Asia crisis have distributed energy markets and supply chains making India's trade more vulnerable. Recently, the United States moved to impose a 50% tariff on Indian products has also underlined the scheme. Okay, experts believe that this is India's opportunity to evolve from a service-oriented economy into a true product nation. This has also been signaled the recent performance announced by the government like GST rationalization. What is a product nation? Definition: a product nation is a country that produces and exports a substantial volume of high-value goods, becoming a net producer rather than a net importer. The purpose as its core, a product nation shifts from being only a customer or assembler or to becoming a creator of globally competitive goods, boosting both its economic strength and its strategic standing in the world. A smile curve inside a star sheets. A smile curve shows that higher value lies in the R&D, design, branding, and distribution rather than the pure manufacture. Example: Apple $3 trillion market cap versus Foxconn $85 billion. The curve makes the case of investing an entire life cycle of a product rather than just assembly. Example: Apple versus Foxconn that assembles for Apple. Okay, South Korea, Japan, and several Southeast Asian nations have risen as manufacturing hubs over the last 3 decades. Okay, challenges in becoming product nations. Okay, innovation, and R&D gaps. A lack of innovations in manufacturing and high tax lacks. For instance, India spends 0.6% of GDP on R&D. Okay, import dependence is heavily reliant on energy, fertilizers, metals, active pharmaceutical ingredients, and technology imports makes India vulnerable to supply disruptions. India imports 65 to 75% of semiconductor needs. Okay, low private investments. Despite reforms, private sector capital formation remains subdued. Okay, regulatory and policy bottlenecks, delays in approvals, complex compliance, and a lack of ease in holding business affecting construction constraints, weak infrastructure, and a hostage of a skill level limit India's capacity to scale manufacturing rapidly. Okay, making India risk being reduced to assembly work rather than genuine value addition. Employment generation mismatch between job creation and the growing workforce, especially in the manufacturing. Climate is sustainable risk exposure to climate changes impacts energy transition challenges and lack of green finance. Regardless of coal generates more than 75% of India's total electricity. Way for strengthening manufacturing scale up production, elegant incentives like BLI and incentivize indigenous innovation in electronics, semiconductors, and EVs. Okay, infrastructure and connectivity push. Invest in logistics packs. Okay, multimodal transport and grid connectivity and integrate MSMEs into global value chains through cluster-based development. Example: national logistics policy. Invest in human capital reforms, education, and skill development to align with the product-driven economy needs. AI, robotics, advanced manufacturing. For example, skill in the initiatives as building foster Product development platforms create intelligent product platforms that startups and companies can use to accelerate development like hotel incubation centers. Conclusions: by strengthening indigenous innovations and advanced manufacturing that integrate human activity, creativity with intelligent technology in line with the principles of Industry 5.1 sustainable and resilient industrial model, where advanced technologies such as AI, robotics, IoT, etc. work with humans rather than replacing them. India can reduce external vulnerabilities and enhance value capture in an era of trade wars and geopolitical flux. The shift becomes vital for safeguarding the nation's geostrategic and economic autonomy. Regional imbalances in India. The Wine Standing Committee on Finance recommended the Center to come up with the action plan evenly distribute industries across states to reduce regional imbalances in the modern university. Standing Committee on Finance in its 26th report, a roadmap for Indian economic growth in light of global economic and geopolitical circumstances. Noted that industries in states of however it is emphasized and central government initiatives are widely industries development. Okay, economic survey 2025 also highlighted significant disparities in industrial development across states. Okay, regional imbalances refer to the differences in economic development and uneven economic growth in different geographical areas. Now, the Union list has also the following industries declared by the Parliament while law to be unnecessary for defense or the prosecution of war. Industries the control of which by the Union is declared by Parliament by law to be exploited in public interest. Okay, reasons for regional imbalances in historical factors. Regional imbalance stated during the British regime concentrating developments in areas like West Bengal and Maharashtra. Geographical factor is difficult terrain, example Himalayan northeast state. Okay, risk administration and project cost. Political factor, example relocation of Tata Nana project from West Bengal to Gujarat due to products. Okay, next we have the publicity disparities. Okay, the Green Revolution benefited a few states like Punjab and Haryana, exacerbating imbalances, lack of growth of ancillary industries despite developing public sector industries and enterprises in backwards areas like Rourkela, Barwani and Vilai, etc. Location specific example development of commercial hubs, okay, residential complexes in national capital region Gurgaon, Noida due to the proximity of the capital Delhi. Infrastructure is poor, transportation, banking services, level is growing. Example industrial growth in low in north eastern states due to the poor road or rail connectivity, weak balancing, banking penetration and power shortages. Okay, consequence of regional imbalance in executive, example insurgency, insurgents in the northeast and left-wing extremism in large parts of the central and eastern states. Okay, political fragmentation, example of Telangana state and demand for separate Vidarbha states in Maharashtra, Bodoland in Assam. Economic north growth, regional imbalance is most the growth of